Today, we're looking at a turquoise ink from Pelikan in their Edelstein series, Topaz. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below in the description so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate it if you check out the entire video. Also, if you like turquoise inks, there's a link to a playlist down in the description for you. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. Some shade, like the K in Pelikan, looks darker than its surrounding letters. Topaz looks much lighter than the Pel in Pelikan. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade in spots like the X in Fox, much darker. Brown starts a little lighter, a little darker, gets a little lighter, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade. Look at how dark the is compared to everything around it. Brown starts darker, gets lighter at the W, and dark at the N again, 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show good color variation, and we do get it. And the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then, a TWSBI VAX 700 with a Fountain Pen Revolutions broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. Now, let's take a look at 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, not a lot of shading there. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, spots of shading, like the PS in Jumps looks a bit darker. In Fox, the F and the X look a bit darker. The B in Brown a bit darker. The shading's there, it's just not jump off the page at you there. 7 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen. Yes, it shades. Quick goes darker to lighter to darker. Fox goes lighter to darker, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, and we are getting it. And the smear test, you could probably recover it if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And there's this kind of grayish line on the bottom that I don't know where that tone's really coming from. Now, the turquoise pushes its way up, and you see it all gathering at the top. Really, for the most part, a turquoise dye. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked into water. And there's a very little difference between the two of these to be noticed, which makes you say there's probably not any resistance to this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, some light shading going on, like the An in Pelikan is a little lighter than the rest of the word. Extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen. It shades nice. Brown starts darker and gets lighter. Quick goes darker to lighter to darker. 4 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading in the writing, 7 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us color variation, though there's not really any in the medium writing. And the smear test, you could probably recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear's allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it fades it a bit. There's a little bit of woolliness that occurs, but for the most part you can recover all of what was written, which does make it safe for a note-taking situation. Water is lifting the darkest tones, but leaving a lot of that ink behind on the paper. Pen flush does a whole lot more than water does. You're starting to see some of the white of the paper come through, but it only took water to get it out of my pen. And the 1/3 bleach solution, you're not going to need it, but it does completely obliterate this ink. The next writing sample is done on Leuchtturm 1917 paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. Well, no, it does shade. I don't know why I said that. Think habit. The Edelstein starts lighter and works its way much darker, gets lighter at the S and darker at the teen part. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade fairly nice. Brown goes darker to lighter to darker. Fox is a nice dark word. Quick goes dark to light to dark. 5 seconds to dry. Medium is the darkest tone on the page with no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading, 8 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show color variation, but we're not really getting it in the medium. And the smear test, that's a maybe on the recovering if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity is 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Edelstein's Topaz has a viscosity of 1.88, making this a wet ink. If you're interested in how the viscosity is tested or how that bell curve's made, then there's a link to that video down in the description. Now, let's take a look at a composition notebook like you would have used in your science lab class. The only bleeding that I'm getting is at the scrubby, so not such a big deal. Other than that, no real ghosting, no bleeding. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the medium with no feather spread, halo sheen, spots of shading. Look at how dark the is compared to brown. Over starts a little lighter and gets a little darker. 2 seconds to dry. The scrubby does show some color variation, and there is in the writing. In a smear test, you could definitely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time is 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Edelstein's Topaz has an average dry time of 7 seconds, making this a faster drying ink. The last writing sample is done on 28-pound premium copy paper. The only bleed spots we see are at the scrubby, not a big deal. Other than that, no bleeding and no ghosting. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the medium with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 1 second to dry. The scrubby does show some color variation, but it doesn't come through. In a smear test, you could definitely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Edelstein's Topaz, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a brown ink by Callifolio Sepia. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of Edelstein's Topaz? A bit of a blue-leaning turquoise. I don't have many turquoise I love, so this being blue-leaning is helpful to me. It shades very nicely and is a nice, cool tone. It can pass, I think, in a professional environment. But I'm biased. I like Edelstein inks. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? I think broader, wetter pens put down a nicer, more solid tone, which in this case I find more appealing. I hope you got something out of this video, and tomorrow we're going to take a look at Iroshizuku's Shin Ryuku, or Forest Green.